Hi everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This is Caleb Turmel, and I'm hosting Wandering Minds. Um, I'm a therapist and have been with the Kellin Foundation for about a year and a half. Um, I love practicing mindfulness and teaching mindfulness to my clients. So, thank you for joining me again today. This is week 7 of Wandering Minds, and we've been talking about um, compassion meditations most recently. So, over the last 2 weeks, we've done some compassion meditations. Before that, we did some progressive muscle relaxation and other skills just for noticing your breath and focusing on breathing. So, today, what I thought we would do is talk about two things. So, first, just setting an intention for your mindfulness practice, and I've talked about that some before, but also just to talk about what we can do when we're practicing breathing to focus and deal with distraction. So I wanted to bring that back up again today before I've talked about what it looks like to deal with distraction. So I want to talk about that again today because I think that's helpful. I was planning on moving ahead and talking about guided meditation and guided imagery, I guess. You could call it that, but I thought today I wanted to go back to something a little bit more simple just because focusing on just your breath can be really challenging. There's a lot of distraction and a lot of lots of things going on right now, and so I wanted to just bring us back to focusing on our breath and taking that one step at a time as we practice mindfulness. So thank you for joining me today. And first, as we start, I'd like to just talk about how to deal with distraction when you're trying to practice mindfulness. I think that's a common roadblock and a common thing that we all run into. It's natural for our minds to get distracted. So how do we deal with that? I've said this before, but for one, first just notice what it is that distracted you. Maybe you can incorporate that into your mindfulness practice, right? So if it's something steady or even something unsteady, like, I don't know, a fan or dogs barking across the street or something like that, maybe you can just notice that and incorporate it into your breath and into your mindfulness practice. The next thing I would say is just to be kind to yourself when you get distracted. You don't need to beat yourself up and be like, gosh, I can't believe this happened. But just let yourself be distracted and then be kind to yourself as you bring yourself back to focusing on the moment. The next thing I would say is to, the third thing, like I kind of just said, is to just gently bring yourself back to practicing your mindfulness exercise. And then finally, don't judge yourself. And if you do, once you notice if you are judging yourself, don't judge your judging, right? So kind of that, I've said that before, but the idea that, when we notice that we've made a mistake or notice that we've messed up, we tend to, beat ourselves up a little bit and be like, can't believe I did that again. And often when people are beginning to become more self-aware and notice their feelings, notice the shame that they might have, been feeling, and then notice that they're, being hard on themselves. Oftentimes then we say, I'm being hard on myself. I need to stop it. So don't judge your judging. And that's the last thing I would say about that. Finally, what does it look like to set an intention for mindfulness? Like, how do you do that? And I think that can be a really simple thing. It can be something just like a positive affirmation for yourself or for the day. Like, I'm going to do hard things today, or I can do hard things today. It could be something such as, I am smart, or I'm intelligent, or I can overcome obstacles that are in front of me. It could be something positive like that. It could just be something like, I can stay right here in the moment and not think about tomorrow. I'm just going to focus on today for this next 5 minutes. And as we practice setting an intention, it doesn't mean that we're always going to follow it, but it's kind of a goal for ourselves, right? It doesn't have to be like, well, this is 100% what I'm going to do the rest of the day, and if I lose track of that, then I've failed. I don't think that's really helpful. But to set that in intention and then hold on to it as much as we can throughout the day, I think is a really powerful thing. So for today, I thought we would just do something somewhat simple as we practice a mindfulness exercise. And so what we're going to do is really just count as we breathe. So a little bit different than counting our breath. We're not just going to like inhale and count to 4 and exhale and count to 8. So that's one way to do that. Today we're just going to count each breath as we breathe, and we're going to try to get to 10 without getting distracted. So I know that for the competitive folks out there, this might really be an attractive mindfulness exercise for you, because it's like, well, I can win at just thinking about my breath for 10 breaths. And I hope that you can. Although I would say that if you're careful and notice your mind and what your mind does, I think you'll find that you'll have to start over whenever you get distracted and start back at 1. And you'll notice that probably happens more than you want it to. So I'd like to just encourage you guys as we do this, count each breath. So count inhale, exhale 1, inhale, exhale 2, all the way up to 10. If you get distracted, just start back over at 1 again. The point, I would challenge you to recognize that the point is not to get to 10, but the point is to just be in the moment and focus on your breath. And when you get distracted, gently bring yourself back to 1. You don't have to beat yourself up. You didn't fail. You are just practicing and learning how to be with yourself and be present in the moment. I think that's all I want to say. So let's try it out. I'd like everyone to, as typical, just put your feet flat on the ground with your hands on your lap. You can either gently close your eyes or just to look at the ground in front of you. Take a breath in and exhale slowly. And I always like to just notice my body a little bit before I really get into a specific practice. But you don't have to. So as you breathe in and exhale, count to 1 and continue to count after each breath until you get to 10. If you get distracted, feel free to start over. So I think I've gotten distracted just about on every breath. This is a little bit different of an exercise. As we're practicing this, I'm realizing, like, should I be talking you guys through this? Is that going to distract you? So I've got a lot of different thoughts going through my mind. And I would just encourage you, as you get distracted, like I said, to just start back over at 1. So if you're just joining us, take a breath in and exhale. That's 1. Take a breath in and exhale. That's 2. And see if you can get from 1 to 10 without getting distracted or thinking about lunch or thinking about what you've got to do later today, and just focus on each breath as it comes and as it goes. So I'm going to return to that for myself. And I would just encourage you, as you get distracted, to just be gentle with yourself, be kind with yourself. Okay, so that was 10 breaths for me. I know I was thinking about a lot of different things. I just counted to 10 anyway as kind of a baseline for you guys. So if you're joining me, that is how long it takes me to get to 10 breaths. It's going to be different for each of us, but even just sitting still and focusing on just breathing and counting is a challenge. So I applaud you for joining us today and just practicing mindfulness. Staying present and staying in the moment is a challenge, and there's always going to be distractions and things either outside of us or in our own minds. I'm just trying to pull us away from just staying present. So I would encourage you guys to set an intention for yourself. As you practice mindfulness this week, notice a positive affirmation that you can tell yourself as you breathe, and practice that. Hope you guys have some good luck with practicing mindfulness, and please tune in next week. We'll start talking about guided imagery and practice setting up a safe space. So hope you guys will join us, and I'll talk to you all later.